But we certainly gained an awful lot from our trip there, not least from their worship, which was so joyful and exuberant. I didn't do that. The singing was just amazing. And we felt humbled, I have to say, by their overflowing, generous welcome. And we were certainly stuffed by the amount of chicken and rice that we had to eat. But that was Mozambique, and your continued support for Mozambique is always welcome. These are some of the people that were there. I don't know how many pictures we've got coming on that. That's one of the churches. I'll carry on talking as they come through. One of the other things that's happened is that Synod Exec has been very busy trying to build on the feedback from our thinking day that we had way back in February. We're trying to discern an overall strategy for the Synod that we can always work towards. But of course, as each individual situation arises, we've got to meet those needs, and only as each local church agrees. As a synod, we can only say so much. The way we work is that each congregation and church meeting makes its own decisions as much as it's able. We do know, though, that we're going to have fewer and fewer ordained ministers as time goes on, and so we're working towards building up the strength and knowledge of the eldership, and we're holding our second Elders Conference this very week. If anybody hasn't signed up but would really like to, then see me as soon as you can. But something I'm noticing more and more as our memberships get older and less able is a growing mismatch between what ministers want of their congregations and what congregations want of their ministers. They want more pastoral care, especially the more frailer members. But ministers are so pushed travelling between different communities and serving each of their needs that sometimes pastoral visiting gets left behind. So how can we enable our ministers to use their time to the very best advantage? That's one of the puzzles that we're trying to work with. Another thing is that we worry that we're in decline rather than growing. There's a kind of a balance between those two things. But I want to reassure ourselves, I want us to be reassured by the thought that growth doesn't necessarily mean in numbers. Are we growing spiritually and in our faith? Can we best use our ministers differently to help us grow in faith? This is something that we're thinking about. So many church congregations are going to have to consider new possibilities. We may have to work more in teams, and that could involve using some of our resources to employ more lay workers. All these things are part of our discussions, and I hope that we'll have something a little bit more tightly defined to talk about at our next synod. But talking of spending money, using our resources, and it is a rainy day, in fact, I think it's pouring, what are we saving for? Well, as part of that, we've employed 2 new people, Jane and Hannah. So I do hope that churches will make the most use they can of their expertise. And they've got plenty of it. So please invite Jane to preach, and then you can invite Hannah to preach next year after she's finished her TLS. But she'll still come and talk. So please see them and get them in your diaries so that you can all hear what they have to say and how they can help our churches to grow in whatever way is the best for your situation. And then finally, the discussions between the northerly synods is moving on. There are different groups talking together about how we might share the work involved in safeguarding, human resources, finance, disciplinary matters and mediation, and also administration. Another larger meeting between the 5 synods is going to be held in December. Now, I think that all 5 synods are agreed that this is a worthwhile exercise, but as ever in the church, nothing happens quickly. I think we've made a start with Jane being shared between us and North West Synod, so maybe that's going to be a model for more sharing in the future. And the discipleship enablers role is ongoing. There's more happening there. I think that has brought you up to date on the things that I've been involved in, along with lots of other things that I won't talk about. And thank you personally for all your good wishes whilst I've had this summer of knee problem. I hope it's on the way to recovery now.